Stop it! I'm gonna tell you, stop! Get on the ground! Get on the ground right now!
JJTP, a lawyer, not your lawyer here. Folks, this is gonna be a different type of video. I probably shouldn't make it. I almost certainly will get in trouble for it. It's not the video I wanted to make tonight, but this is something that needs to be said. It's gonna be a little longer than my normal videos, but please, stick with me. So I didn't show the whole video, because I don't want to make videos like this. This is not the type of legal content that I want to create. But this is something that I need to speak out about, because it's one of the reasons why I took the job that I took for some time. That and the fact that TikTok would probably take this video down and ban me if I did show it. But you can find the video online. That being said, let's start. First, I want to say I am not criticizing any police officer. I was not there, I was not part of the situation, and I don't know what happened. But I do know what I did see. What the video does depict is Roderick Brooks running from Sergeant Garrett Hardin of the Harris County Sheriff's Office. His crime? Stealing laundry detergent from a dollar store. His street sentence? Death. And that's what's not acceptable here. Now again, I want to be clear. I was not there, but I do have eyes, and I did see the video. I'm probably much more of a law and order person than most. However, there's something to be said about proportionality and Connor v. Grant. It's from this case that we get the reasonable officer standard, which looks to what a reasonable officer would do given the facts and circumstances at the time. The call from the Dollar General was that Mr. Brooks had stolen one laundry detergent from the store and assaulted the clerk. Sergeant Hardin arrives on the scene, gives chase, and what the video shows is he deploys his stun gun to little effect. He then tackles Mr. Brooks and pins him to the ground, and that's where the struggle begins. Mr. Brooks is face down with Sergeant Hardin on top of him, and Sergeant Hardin places his stun gun in front of Mr. Brooks' face in reach of his hand. Mr. Brooks makes a terrible decision by reaching for the stun gun and grabbing it, but Sergeant Hardin is still on top of him, and he has his hand pinned. Due to this shaky body cam footage, we really can't say what happened. And again, I emphasize I was not there, so I was not experiencing this. However, the camera does pick up some other clues. What is clear is that Mr. Brooks is face down like this, and with his right hand seems to be grabbing the stun gun, and it seems that he's pulling the stun gun under him. In either way, there's no way to reach your hand back and deploy the stun gun against someone on top of you like this. Your arms just don't reach that way. For what it's worth, Sergeant Hardin does give Mr. Brooks at least 2 verbal warnings that he will shoot him if he reaches for the taser. It's after the second verbal warning that Sergeant Hardin points his gun at point blank range and fires a single round into Mr. Brooks' neck, right about there. What I also note, as a trained investigator, is a change in Sergeant Hardin's voice. Listen here, but be warned of explicit language.
I'm gonna shoot you, put that down! I will fucking shoot you! 35 shots fired!
When he's giving the verbal commands, he does not sound winded. However, when he gets on his radio, he sounds more winded, even though there has not been a change in circumstances which would make him so. It almost seems like he's trying to make the situation over the radio sound worse than it was, to cover what's happening. The fact is, he was mounted to Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks reached for the taser. Mr. Brooks was very little, if any, threat to him, and yet he pointed his service weapon into Mr. Brooks' neck, fired a single round, and killed him. I would say that in the majority of cases where a police officer has to draw and use his service weapon and it results in the loss of life, the action is justified. However, this is not one of them. What's important is that it doesn't matter if the majority are justifiable. All it takes is one unacceptable death to be one too many. One bad action like this ruins the reputation of all law enforcement officers, and it's not acceptable. Again, I was not there, I did not participate, I did not have eyes on the situation. I don't know what Sergeant Hardin saw, so I can't judge him. That's not my place. That's the job of the internal investigators, the FBI, the Texas Rangers, and potentially a jury to make that decision. Hopefully, they'll have all the evidence from all sides so they can make a fair judgment as to what really happened. However, based on the shaky body cam video posted online by the agency, based on my training and experience, I don't think it was a good shoot. I'm sure Sergeant Hardin had other non-lethal options, such as OC spray, or he could have disengaged from Mr. Brooks, created distance, and he still would have had his service weapon if necessary. If he was going to use his service weapon, he could have used it on another portion of Mr. Brooks' body that was potentially less lethal. Instead, he chose to fire one round in a place that there was no coming back from. That is among the most difficult places in the body to patch a wound, because you can't use a tourniquet, and if you nick the carotid artery, there's often not enough combat gauze or Israeli bandages to stop the bleeding. This was an intentionally fatal shot, over $1 worth of soap. And again, I'll end where I started. That's not acceptable. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, and follow so you can hear more news like